Hi, I'm Mark Cooper, Director of Grey Malkin Consulting, and here's our weekly Criminal Justice Roundup. So another busy week of announcements, ranging from changes to the unduly lenient sentencing scheme, new monies for victims of rape and sexual assault, and the announcement of the new Domestic Violence Commissioner. Here's our roundup of the stories most likely to be of interest to PCCs, local authorities and those working in the criminal justice system. On Tuesday, the 17th of September, the Ministry of Justice extended the unduly lenient sentencing scheme to include 14 new offences. Criminals convicted of stalking, harassment, child sexual abuse and other sex offences could see their sentences increased if victims or the public think their punishment is too lenient. Under plans confirmed by ministers, the unduly lenient sentencing scheme will be extended to 14 new offences, giving victims the power to query the sentences of a wider range of crimes. The scheme gives anyone the power to ask the Attorney General to consider referring a sentence to the Court of Appeal for reconsideration, where it could then be potentially increased if deemed unduly lenient. The move will bring offences including controlling and coercive behaviour within scope, as well as further child sexual abuse offences, such as those involving the taking, distributing and publishing of indecent images of children and abusing a position of trust with a child. The full story and list of new offences are available on our newsletter, which I'll talk about at the end of this video. On Wednesday the 18th of September, the MOJ announced that victims of rape and serious sexual assault will be assisted by a further £5 million worth of support funding. The move will see a 50% increase in the money available, up from £8 million to £12 million per year, for a range of services across the country, including tailored face-to-face support and counselling. £1 million will be invested into recruiting more independent sexual violence advisors who provide advice and support to victims, acting as the link between police, support service and the criminal justice agencies. New national minimum standards for ISVAs will also be developed to ensure victims across the country receive consistent, high-quality support. The MOJ press release accompanying the announcement noted that in 2018-19, Police and Crime Commissioners were allocated around £68 million worth of funding to locally commission emotional and practical support services for victims of crime, as PCCs are best placed to respond to local need. On Thursday the 19th of September, Sir Tom Windsor, the Chief Inspector at HMIC FRS, gave a speech at Cambridge University. That speech talked about how forces were struggling to cope with increases in demand. Sir Tom explained that the Inspectorate has designed and introduced means called force management statements, which, when fully mature, will enable the public to make judgments about what they reasonably expect the police to do and what they are willing for the police not to do. Force management statements are now required every year from Chief Constables, stating the Chief's assessment of demand over the next 4 years. That includes all the demand, latent and patent, crime and non-crime. The Chief's assessment of the condition, capability and capacity, performance and efficiency of the workforce, including officers and staff physical and mental welfare, and the Chief's expectation of the financial resources the force will have to meet that demand with its assets. Sir Tom said that elected representatives at both a national and local level needed the fullest possible information with which to make judgments about the state of the criminal justice system, which he described as defective and dysfunctional. Also on Thursday the 19th of September, the Guardian newspaper published an article about the level of CPS prosecutions for rape cases. This was on the back of the HMIC FRS inspection reports on crime data integrity. The Guardian article said that thousands of reports of rape allegations have been inaccurately recorded by the police over the past 3 years, and in some cases never appeared in official figures. An analysis shows the vast majority of police forces audited by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary and Fire and Rescue Services have failed to collect accurate rape crime figures, resulting in cases going unrecorded and investigations not being carried out, raising the possibility that perpetrators could go on to re-offend. More than 1 in 10 audited rape reports were found to be incorrect. The Guardian found complainants with mental health and addiction issues and victims of trafficking were particularly vulnerable to being struck from the record by a number of police forces. Vera Baird, the Victims Commissioner for England and Wales, said that it appeared that the police were failing to investigate reports. She said, Where cases are not being recorded as a crime and are dismissed as an incident, that's a concern because it may be that if cases were investigated, they could result in a prosecution. We know that rape is a serial offence, so it should be a very considered decision not to pursue something that looks like a rape as a crime of rape. It's clear that this Guardian article, the findings by HMICFRS, and those that I talked about last week, the CPS Vaughan report and the increase in domestic homicides, are very troubling and something that PCCs, local authorities as well as central government will need to look at much more closely. That is why we welcome the appointment of Nicole Jacobs, the first Domestic Abuse Commissioner, into her role. The role of the Domestic Abuse Commissioner will lead on driving improvements on the response to domestic abuse in the UK, championing victims and making recommendations on what more should be done to better protect victims and bring more offenders to justice. We wish Nicole well in her role. That's all for this week. If you'd like to be added to our newsletter containing the stories that I've talked about today, as well as the links to all the information and statistics, then please send me an email via our website at www.greymalkinconsulting.com and I'll add you to our mailing list. Have a great week.